Hi, I'm Mihir of Learners Club, and today we'll be answering some simple study related questions that a lot of students have asked me in this past week. Most of these questions that we get are pretty similar, so I'll be clubbing them into one big question and we'll be answering them for you right here, right now. How do I start learning physics, chemistry, bio, and mathematics? A lot of you people ask this question. So let's understand what do we exactly need to do when you're trying to study for a particular exam. At the start of the year, I want all of you people to list down all the topics that you need to be studying for your grade. If you're in grade 9, go over your syllabus, do that. 10th, 11th, 12th. Done? Go to Google or go to your preferred AI chatbot and get a list of all of the prerequisites that you need to know for understanding the topics in your grade. So the list that you originally created, I want you people to create a list from that of all of the prerequisites. Put that down on an Excel sheet. At LC, we already have a system for this where we are already able to get that information at a flick of a finger. So once you have this list of prerequisites, I want you people to rate them from 1 to 5. 1 being that you feel you're the weakest at that, and 5 being that you're the strongest at that. And do that rigorously for all of your prerequisites. Once you've done that, arrange that Excel sheet in the order of lowest to highest. That is the order that you will be studying these topics in when you're studying them on your own. So for all the prerequisites that are ranked lower, the topic that you'd originally taken that from, that's your first ever topic that you'll be learning. All right. So those prerequisites, that topic, once that's done, you re-rate it. If it's at a higher rating, you know you can proceed. From in this 1 to 5 system, a 3 and a high is a go ahead. Like that, you'll make sure that all of your prerequisites and your topics are rated at 3 or above. And that is how you will actually be doing this kind of a study on your own. Do this from the start of the year, and at the end of it, I can ensure that you will be thorough with all of your subjects and your understanding of all of the topics. How to prepare for board exams at the last moment? I will define last moment as the last 3 months. And it is very much possible to be revising for your board exams in those 3 months. The key is to not revise all topics rigorously. I know, sounds pretty contradictory, but hear me out. If you divide your 3 months into the exact kind of practice that I'll be telling you to do, you do not need to spend all of your time revising from the very start. All right. So the first month, I expect you people to prepare a list of the topics that you struggle with. How do you create that? You won't be just going over the list and rating them the same way I've given the answer to the previous question. Here you will be solving some PYQs. So you'll have multiple different references in books that divide PYQs chapter wise. Take one of those, solve them. And depending upon how many answers you get right or wrong, classify those topics from the weakest to strongest. Spend more time and spend more days revising the difficult topics whilst maintaining a good revision pace for the easier ones. Here we are going to be focusing, giving more importance to the difficult topics and maintain the easier topics, because month 1 is still enough time. When you reach month 2, I want you people to solve full board papers. And once you evaluate your scores, divide them chapter wise. That serves as your checkpoint for whatever work that you have done in your first month. Solve at least 20 papers per subject in this month, and you'll start finding patterns in the types of questions that show up and the weightage of certain topics over others. That is key information, absolutely useful information that you need for your preparation. So once you know what kind of questions show up for what kind of chapters, now you know how to prepare a strategy for it. What chapters to focus on more, what chapters you can technically skip out, and how much preparation do you need to reach your goal of whatever percentage you set for your board exams. Do not, however, miss out on comparing the current board pattern to the previous ones, because every single year the board pattern very slightly changes. But those very slight changes can sometimes alter your strategy. So make sure to take into account all of this information. And the second month is where you actually create a solving strategy. When you go into your third month, you will be doing less of revision and more of solving, because by this point you've been solving so many papers that revision comes automatically. These topics are ingrained within you. 20 papers per subject is not a small number. And in the third month, I wanted to be solving another 20 to 30 papers. that gives you a good 40 to 50 papers per subject. That means you genuinely will not need any revision because you'll be into those topics hands-on with all the volume of papers that you'll be solving. Here you'll be fine-tuning your strategy. You'll see to what extent your strategy is working. If there are certain small changes that you might need to make, so on and so forth. Once you've fine-tuned and finalized your strategy, that's when you know you're ready for your board exams. I do not like when students spend all of their time revising things from scratch because that is what the first couple of months of your 10th and your 12th grade is supposed to be for, when you're learning all of those things. Even if you do not pay attention in class during those first couple of months, the last 3 months can still be salvaged if you know how to focus on topics. You cannot give complete importance to the entire learning process in such a short amount of time. So here we play things smartly. You know, as a teacher, this is something I should not be recommending, but I'm doing so for your benefit because this is how papers are created. Once you figure out the patterns, you know exactly how to solve, what to solve, and how to score. At Learners Club, we empower students like you with learning plans and personalized learning experiences through our programs to bridge your learning challenges, whatever they may be. You could be struggling with chemistry, physics, you could be struggling with general solving questions or concept clarity, or you just need career advice. We help you all by personally creating learning plans to make sure that whatever you are struggling with and what you want to achieve are clearly mapped out. And the path to it, from the learning challenge to the learning goal, is perfectly followed through our personalized learning programs. If you're interested, find us on any of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, or find our email down below and shoot us a quick message. And we will be very happy to have you on board. On to the next questions. How do toppers feel motivated to study? I have two answers, in fact. Most toppers, believe it or not, do not learn. Now, at Learners Club, I would expect people to be learning, right? But sadly, that's not always the case because in the Indian education system, if you want to score very good on a test, either you need to be amazing at the concept that you're doing or be very good at pattern recognition. And most toppers lie in the second category. Toppers who have learned to beat the system focus their preparations only on that. I can give you an example. Most colleges have a system of giving you a CGPA from 1 to 10. And when you have something called as absolute grading, that means a particular percentage that you score contributes to a particular grade. In the university that I have students in currently, that means an 80% or above is a 10. Imagine a 10 on 10 CGPA for a mark anywhere from 80 to 100. So these learners focus on getting a minimum of 80% by solving those very questions that can confidently get them to that point. They ensure that their internals are taken care of in that way, and then they ensure that whatever they're doing for the externals is just enough to reach that point. You don't need to score 100% if the system allows you to not score 100% and still be good at things, right? Similarly, even for board exams where you have exact percentages, even there, this interplay of internals, externals, submissions, all of that matters because in most boards, you have either a 70-30 split or even a 50-50 split. And and the more your internals take up the weightage, the easier it is for you to score because those internal marks are genuinely at the discretion of the teachers. If you do really well with whatever the assignments the teachers give you, even if you falter some or the other way, teachers usually give the benefit of the doubt because we know that a student has the potential when they're consistently performing, and we do tend to overlook one or two underperformances. Thus, now your only focus becomes on getting your externals right just to the point where you meet your actual goal. It's not that difficult. And then there are those 1% of toppers who genuinely enjoy learning, for whom learning is such an easy task that no exam pattern really scares them. Why? Because they know their concept in and out. I want my learners to reach that stage. I want my learners to be part of both of these topper groups. And that is how we will be training people. See, learning is not difficult once you enjoy the process. And why will you enjoy the process of learning something which might seem difficult, isn't it? So, the job of a teacher like me is to bring interest into topics as difficult as organic chemistry to students who might just not like chemistry at all, right? So, once we bring in that joy, your job of scoring does not become that difficult. It actually simplifies immensely. So, how do toppers feel motivated to study? Because they know how to beat the system. And finally, how do you study? What's the best way to study? Every learner has a different learning style. I want you people to imagine within your, or rather, you don't even have to imagine, you can just visualize, you can observe in your class itself. If you take one person's notes and another person's notes, you will see a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences as well. My notes may not be similar to yours, and they definitely aren't. Your notes may not be similar to your best friends, unless you copy from each other. But when you both create your notes, most definitely there will be some differences. Why? Because you both learn differently. Fundamentally, learning styles are what defines how you learn. And every learner has a very interesting and unique combination of those learning styles. And we want to harness that when we're trying to learn. So whenever a learner comes to me, comes to any of our mentors at Learners Club, that is what we try to identify first, along with their learning challenges. Because if I want to bridge their learning challenges, if I want to solve those problems, I need to know how to do that, isn't it? So if I have a visual learner, I'll have a lot of diagrams, a lot of schematics. If I have an auditory learner, this video itself can become a podcast. If I have a kinesthetic learner, that's how most of my learners are. In class, we'll end up doing a lot of different experiments, simulations, question answers, so many different ways that I can imbibe the learner into something that will actually make it fun. Imagine whatever chemical reactions you're learning if you're able to perform them. Wouldn't those be easier to understand rather than just writing down those reactions? If I were to give you a physics problem, wouldn't actually doing that problem in real life give you an understanding of what different forces are playing into the picture? Photosynthesis, how are the different factors involved in all of this? Unless and until we do an experiment, will you understand it? No. That is the power of different learning styles. Because one simple experiment can tackle all of these different learning styles, supplemented with whatever knowledge I give via textbooks, via notes, via classrooms. Learning can be curated and should be curated. And it's not always done in every single place. So if you find yourself somewhere where your learning is not really the main focus, or your learning is not being supplemented by different experiences, you can create them for yourselves. You can empower yourselves because the resources that you have around you are infinite. Go onto the internet, hop onto AI models, and create those different simulations. You can code different simulations now. That's what's called as vibe coding, isn't it? You can code those different simulations. You can create different experiments. Do them by yourself and learn through these experiences. Bottom line, the best way to study is to experience those concepts. Without that, you will never appreciate them. That's a wrap on all of the different questions that we recently received. If you have learning doubts of yourself, find us on any of our socials, hit us a message, and we will be glad to answer your questions. And do you want your learning audited and a learning plan created for you for free? That is also something that we can do. Again, hit us a message showing that you're interested in all of this, and we will schedule you on a one-on-one call with me to create a learning plan like this. We are backed by a lot of different learners who have been with us in the past and in the present. And I can ensure that whatever you get will be rewarding for you at the very end. This was Learners Club. I am Mihir Iyer. I will see you in the next one. Thank you and happy learning.